Hi everyone, my name is Derrick Henry, and in this week's video blog, we're going to cover the 10 Commandments of Efficiency. These are things that have helped me become much more efficient in my career, produce a whole lot more in a lot less time, and help others do the same. So away we go. First off, thou shalt not do irrelevant work. What does that mean? That means things that don't align with your goals, that don't align with your mission and your vision, and really get something done that is absolutely required from a compliance perspective or otherwise. Just stop doing it. I'll give you an example of something that's not relevant. One of my really smart team members that I worked with one time, who kind of missed the forest for the trees, was building a report. It took her about 6 hours a month. And when I asked her, about it a little bit, so maybe we could make it more efficient, she then came to the conclusion that, I've been sending this to a guy who hasn't worked here in a couple of years. Why am I doing this? I said, because you're not asking yourself that constantly. So really, it helps to define the purpose. Why are we doing this? So that it can be aligned with things that really matter. So make a list, be observant of what you're doing, and make sure it's relevant. Number 2, honor thy true priorities. Kind of sort of like that, you need to understand what are the biggest priorities from the very top of the business down into your department, into your team, into your personal sphere of influence and responsibility. It's very easy to get sucked into things that are just not the biggest priority and don't align with core values and vision. So make sure you understand what those are. How do they align with that? If you have any trouble with it, talk to your boss, talk to your team, other people, and really get their take. Number 3, thou shalt be prepared. How many times have you gone to the grocery store without a good list of stuff that you should buy? Or how many times have you gone to a meeting where there was not a clear agenda or somebody didn't know what they were talking about and had to kind of catch up to speed? When you take that approach, you're going to be doing things more than once. And guess what? That's avoidable and it's not very efficient. So be as prepared as you can within reason, because sometimes you can be overly prepared and miss the opportunity because of all the time you're taking to get prepared. So there's a balance there, but most of the time you can be more prepared. Thou shalt not multitask. Now, there's a lot of people out there who think they can multitask really, really well. And the thing is, you just can't. If they're two very kind of mind deep focused things, they're both going to suffer, right? You can do one thing that doesn't take a whole lot of deep thought and another thing that can. To some extent, I would limit that if you can, but parallel tasking works a lot better, where something's happening in the background, you don't have to focus on it hardly any, and you can focus on one big, deep thing where you got to get all your creativity and your brain energy going together. Doing some laundry is a great idea of that. Something that just can happen in the background, if it's something you can automate or something that somebody else can do, that makes more sense. But trying to juggle two things at the exact same time, not advisable. Thou shalt not worship Sally. Now, Sally means same as last year. Guys, too many people are just going through the motions. They're in their comfort zone. They don't want to change. They know that it works. Well, they think that it works. Maybe they're in denial a little bit. That's not the best way to do things. Now, I am not saying to reinvent the wheel, but maybe the wheel needs to be replaced a little bit. Maybe it needs to be refined. Maybe you got the wrong wheels on the car. So don't just take the same as last year or the way that we've always done it as the ultimate thing. Maybe that's kind of the benchmark to which you're comparing to, but there's probably a better way. Ask around. Don't be afraid to take some risks. Next, thou shalt be organized. One of my favorite quotes is from Ben Franklin. He said something like, a minute spent organizing is worth an hour spent searching. I mean, if that's not enough motivation to be organized to an extent, I don't know what is. This is with physical things like what's around the house. I hate it when people take something, don't put it back, because I put it there for a reason. I'm needing it. I'm expecting it. And then with your digital things, it's just as important, if not more so, because you can make a hot mess a lot quicker with digital files. So if you've got folders popping up all over the place, that's maybe not the best thing. Find something that is geared toward what you're trying to do. So much software these days is built for a specific purpose with organization in mind. Take advantage of that. At least give it some thought. Thou shalt use keyboard shortcuts. Now, I'm a big Excel user. I have been most of my life, even in a role that's less finance and accounting these days. Keyboard shortcuts are so helpful. They're over 3 times quicker than the mouse. It saves energy, and that adds up so much. So whatever the apps are that you use the most, learn a few shortcuts, even if it's just 5 or 10. Post them right next to your desk so you can learn them. Practice makes perfect here. It saves so much time. What else is helpful is to be really fluent at keyboarding in general. That makes this matter even more. Thou shalt save thy favorites. If you've ever saved a favorite website or you've pinned a file or you've bookmarked something, you know how crucial this can be, because if you don't save it, you might not ever find it again. But just as importantly, going back through the same motions of trying to find it without it being pinned is frustrating. And I'll give you an example. When we order food from a restaurant, we try to use restaurants that have an app where we can use our favorite or our recent order because it's so much quicker. Those little modifications you make, you're talking about 30, 40, 50 clicks that you're saving by reusing a favorite. That whole think once, apply often, refine when you need to mindset. This is a great example of that. So in anywhere you can, save your favorites, reuse them, tweak them, keep them up to date. Thou shalt use minimal paper. One of the silver linings from the pandemic is that paper is used a lot less in the business world. I mean, people working remotely and wanting to cut down on costs, well, paper is a big one. You got to ship it, store it, you've got to search through it, file it, all that kind of stuff. It adds up, a lot of cost, not just the cost of the labor around it, but the physical cost. Those things go away when you're digital first. Now, lastly, thou shalt automate thy work. And what this means is automation in any sense that makes sense. All the repetitive work that you're doing, wherever it makes sense, consider automating it. Take some notes, write the things down where there are more errors that happen, the things that take the most time, and the things that are really not that hard to automate. There's more and more tools available every day to do this kind of stuff. So pick your favorites. They don't necessarily have to be in this order, although I'd probably argue number one's the best because, 100% is one of the best efficiency gains you're going to get when you don't have to do it anymore. But look at this, make it a priority, and you'll see some great results. Hopefully you found this helpful. Thank you for watching and have an awesome rest of your day.